This is Rap the News, and I have to monitor everything that I say so that I can continue bringing you this information. Sad that you have to be very discreet about what you're saying, so a lot of you guys would have to fill in the blanks. Because if they shut down two more of my main channels, that's pretty much going to be it. You know, I'll have like a couple of hundred subscribers that is going to get it, and the rest of the world is done. They don't get the information. With that said, you've been led away from the wide gate into the narrow gate. This is purposely being done over here on this channel. I'm not all over the place like everybody. I always had a game plan. I already knew what was going down. I'm going to tell you guys, I'm going to let you in on something. The United States dollar crashed in 2008. I was a realtor back then, and everything went downhill for me. Eventually, like I told you in many videos, I was down on my hands and knees saying, you know, Lord, I'm just trying to be a man. I'm trying to take care of my family, and God is telling me to let go of all of that and trust in Him. So I let go of all the credit. I let go of all of the business credit. I let go of real estate license. I let go of buying a house. I never did buy one. I let go of all my bank accounts. I let it go. And I just trusted in the Most High God. And then He led me down a narrow path, and I'm showing you the way. It is not hoopla. I ain't saying shit for ducats. I'm saying it to guide you to the Most High God on this narrow path that many ain't gonna make it because they on the path of destruction. So the first thing that I needed to do is to get you back to a monotheistic religion. Christianity and Judaism is based on a monotheistic value that we worship one God, the Creator, the Most High God. What happened was they made a new covenant and they gave you a new God, and that was the God of the flesh. The problem with the God of the flesh is that when you add a God to the flesh, you are then worshiping multiple gods with more emphasis on the fake, superficial mark of the beast, the fake God, right? Image of the beast. With that said, your religion turns then from a monotheistic religion to a polytheistic religion. So you were all being taught this over a period of time. Very animate with it, you know, debating a lot of people, going on and carrying on. It was a part of the process. We then went into accountability. At some point in your life, you got to stop blaming other people and take accountability for your own life. So I taught you the balance system. You wasn't learning that nowhere else. It wasn't nobody animate about taking away a false god out of your religion, because if you are worshiping multiple gods, the punishment for that is the lake of fire. If you read the book, the punishment for idolatry, and that's what it's called, because if you're worshiping anything other than the Creator, it is idolatry, and you will burn in the lake of fire for eternity. You got deceived by the beast. So now we into accountability. So when you're in accountability, you are saying pretty much that you are responsible for your life. We learned yesterday, or maybe the day before yesterday, we learned that whatever you put into this system that God created called the balance system, that's what comes out in your life. So if you live by the sword, you die by the sword. You take into captivity, you go into captivity, right? You lie, you get lied to. You deceive, you get deceived. You judge, you will be judged by the measure that you judge, and so on and so forth. So God is saying here that I will render them a recompense according to the work of their hands. what they put into the system. For the day of the Lord, and this is Isaiah 34, the New Living Translation, for it is the day of the Lord's revenge, the year when Edom, who took you into captivity, will be paid back for everything that they did to Israel. They will go into captivity. It's facts. So, again now, this economic collapse that's happening, you see me saying, it all leads to slavery, folks. And I'm always correct about this stuff. I'm not guessing at nothing. I'm not stuttering or blundering in nowhere. I'm not blundering in nothing. Let me say it like that. Not when it comes to this. And so what's happening? I'll break it down in layman terms. The devil promised the mega rich that they will become even richer and that the world will become their slaves. And they are deceived in buying that. We know, as Hebrew Israelites, that if you take someone into captivity, your rich ass is going into captivity. So what does the book then say? The kings and queens will be your nursing, right? Slaves, right? He is going to make slaves out of the kings and queens. These same rich people that thought they would put the nations into captivity by what? Depriving them of everything. So, again, they're going to make trillions of dollars like they did. And what are they going to do for you? Well, they told you to go in the house and put a mask on. And don't worry about it. We'll see what we can do about your rent and your company. Right? Because in order for them to make money, they had to stop you from making money. They have to stop lending to you. That's why they ain't lending too much credit. And the credit card companies is closing accounts now. If you didn't know, the United States dollar collapsed in 2008. That's why they killed Gaddafi, I believe, one of them, Arabs over there, because he wanted to go to a gold standard. He wanted to go to his own thing, and they killed him over that, right? With that said, and I said I have to be careful about everything that I say. You may think I'm mumbling and jumbling, but I am telling you the absolute truth. And so these Gentiles, they don't get it. So we went right down the line, and they telling you that pretty much they know that the government is collapsing the market and the dollar purposely. They try to blame it on Russia and China. Oh, they all coming together in Turkey. They all coming together to collapse the dollar. No, but they were collapsing and tearing down their own World Trade buildings. Right? Now, we're going to continue. Make sure we're still recording. I had a dream, and in that dream, the rich was buying up the ghettos and tearing down the ghettos and building up industrial complex. Right? And look at this.
This place right here, I'm starting it off in Miami Beach because this is the area where I first remember we lived. This used to be an apartment complex years ago, and they tore it down and they just built so much stuff. You see all these high rises, none of this was here. This is actually a school, this was not here. So it used to be like a housing development, and they tore it down, and the people that lived here went over the bridge, and that's over town now.
So what happened is they did what? What I saw in my dream. That they kick all of you out because they made it where you can't afford to live there no more. They was doing that in Long Beach where I was at. People didn't understand that. Now they do. No, they probably still don't.
So for the average person, inflation is killing them.
It is.
Rents.
Yes.
Gone up they can't afford to buy houses, they're renting. Oh, what's happening? Again, the bigs, the Blackstones, the other ones buying up homes and renting them out.
So we just saw that, didn't we?
So what this is going to do, and it's done, it's made the bigs bigger and everybody else poorer.
Slaves. He wanted to say it.
The numbers are there. The billionaires got $8 trillion richer in 2020.
Why is that? Because they told you good little dumb sheep to put a mask on and go in the house. Us true believers, we didn't believe none of that.
Here's the deal. They're lying about it. They're lying about it because
our fathers have inherited lies and things of where there is no profit. Throw the unprofitable servant into the outer darkness, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth.
Well, first of all, the inflation numbers are rigged. We're talking about housing prices, whether they've gone up like 18% in a year. Housing prices aren't put into the CPI. So anyway, they're making the numbers up, and they want to keep saying inflation is temporary because they are afraid they're going to scare the gamblers by raising interest rates.
Thank you. Okay, but hold that thought, because I want you to fill in this blank. I want you to fill in the blank here. You say they're destroying the economy. The Fed is afraid to raise rates because the markets are going to
crash. They already did since 2008. They started putting trillions of dollars into the economy in 2008, and now they putting way more than this in there.
They're going to crash. It's artificially propped up.
The Fed was printing too much money. They went on a binge last year, perhaps for understandable reasons, but they overdid it. And then I think everyone's underestimated the huge disruptions, supply chains disruption when you shut down the global economy. It's not like a light switch. But I think some people at the Fed, even if the chairman remains happily oblivious, are beginning to realize, Stuart, the party is over.
He said what? The party is over. They have crashed their society. They are at the bottom. They cannot inflate the dollar because the dollar is worthless at this point. And so we're going to get to the nitty gritty if you stick with me, and I'm going to show you what's really going down.
This year, the Fed has not created new money. Yes, they're buying $120 billion of bonds each month, but they're sterilizing it. They're withdrawing it from the banking system through a device called reverse repos, which just means they're borrowing the money. So it's like taking a bucket of water, pouring it in one end of the pool, then going to the other end and taking the water out. So there's a device called reverse repos, which just means short-term borrowings. In recent months, Stuart, that has gone up $800 billion, from zero to $800 billion. The Fed, I think, is realizing bad things are coming, and they're trying to find desperate ways to stem the leaks in the dam. But with all those spending bills coming through, what they go through, watch out. The dam will break.
So everybody is telling you, it ain't that it's going to break. They're not telling you that it has broken already.
Hey, the party's over, Federal Reserve. When are you going to wake up? When are the people in Washington, D.C. going to wake up? Spending trillions of dollars that we don't have, growing the size and scope of government, talking about raising taxes in order to pay for all these crazy programs that they want to put layer upon layer upon layer of the American people. And when Forbes is asked, well, what would you do? He said, get rid of government, make government smaller, lower taxes. But this isn't happening in Washington, D.C., is it?
No, absolutely not. It's just they just keep kicking the can down the road. And
ultimately, how does this end?
It's going to end with a big implosion for the dollar and probably a complete reset. It's we have inflation that's just at a record rate right now, and it's time to start hedging.
So, with that said, we read, everything is in an order with me. We read about this balance system. As a man does, God is going to return his recompense back on himself, right? Let's go back into it now.
America was rich with fertile land, but the settlers didn't have the labor force to properly utilize it. So when the Portuguese came calling, they jumped at the chance. The slave labor force worked out so well that between 1492 and 1776, 5 times as many slaves were brought to America as there were settlers. The crops that they worked on were so in demand worldwide that the U.S. quickly grew rich.
Your trespasses, says the Bible, mean riches for the Gentiles. Again, Google what I'm saying. Your trespasses, black man, mean riches for the Gentiles. So the Gentiles got rich. How? They call you good for nothing porch monkeys, right? But they got rich off your porch monkey back, didn't they? And watch this. And they became a superpower off of your back. Just like Egypt did.
This situation laid the foundation for the economic boom of the Industrial Revolution and beyond.
So it wouldn't be no Industrial Revolution, right? Why did they do it? They did it because of greed. All of the people of the land, save a few, agreed to this slavery. And I'm talking about like 90-some%, right?
Making the U.S. a superpower.
Who made the U.S. a superpower? Slaves. Who are the slaves? The Hebrew Israelites. They got rich off of God's chosen people. You think they said thank you? You think they said sorry? You think they said anything? You think they gave us anything? Nah. They kick you to the curb and begin burning you, lynching you, and making a mockery of you.
Slaves became an economy unto themselves and were seen as valuable, expensive property. They could be traded for other goods and services or used to pay off debt. The South remained primarily agricultural, while the North made use of several newfangled machines and became overrun with factories. The North was able to abandon slave labor completely, and yet, even while they wanted the South to abolish slavery, they still needed a large amount of supplies, like cotton, and they refused to pay higher prices for them, which kept the slave trade rolling along. The slavery bubble did eventually burst, only it burst into the Civil War.
So now they got a bubble. So they said the bubble burst back then into a civil war, right? Red coats against blue ones, right? The Crips against the Bloods, huh? But they talk about you, right? Mm-hmm. They have no room to talk.
Which really wasn't all that civil. So was slavery so important to war, which really wasn't all that civil? So was slavery so important to the economy that only a war could have ended it?
Same as before with Pharaoh. Let my people go. We're not letting your people go because we don't grow if we let your people go. I said it again. We don't grow if we let your people go. They know where we come from. They could ship us back to our land. You are the biggest consumers. They still profiting off of you going to jail, them shooting you dead in the street, and you buying up hair weaves and nails and perms and everything else. Cars and Gucci and Fila and Louis Vuitton. They profit off of you. Major bag alerts. All the while they telling you that you ain't shit. Right? So God states, I hate Esau, hated him, and laid his mountain and his heritage waste for the dragons of the wilderness, whereas Edom says, we are impoverished. What do you think they're saying? They're saying it's over. The party is done. We are impoverished. Our fathers have inherited lies. Y'all not getting it. Y'all going into bondage. You have no idea. Captivity. Definition. The condition of being imprisoned or confined. What's happening in Australia? What's happening in the European nations? They can say it's because of something that started with a C. And that's why you in confinement. It's a slick way to implement martial law. It's also a slick way to stop lending to you, to cut your money, to grow rich. And they made trillions off of y'all ignorance. Revelation 13:10. You led into captivity. And so you'll be, he that leadeth into captivity shall be led into captivity. Inch by inch, piece by piece is how the devil do it. If you don't know his scheme and how he works. He don't just corrupt you all at once. If you look at the bathing suit, it started at the ankles. And then it started coming up and up to the knee. And up and up and up until it's up your ass. And now you're walking around naked. Because little by little he corrupts you. Little by little he is leading you into slavery. You've been tax slaves, right? You are owned property of the government. Have you not looked at the law? All their legislation? You are considered as farm animals. Ask the people who know. Wasn't that what the black people were considered as? You are considered as property. You are considered as doing business as. That is why your name is in capitals on your driver's license, your social security number, and your birth certificate. Because that says you are a slave of the system. Your birth certificate has a number, and that is a tax slave number. You was bought by the system. Once your parents sign your name on the dotted line on the birth certificate, a certificate of Aladdin, of birthing, you've been a slave on a long leash. Then they putting you on a shorter one. And so, over here again, I speak all of the truth. And so, basically, y'all is worrying about going into camps now. Those camps is going to turn into slave fields. All of the farm that Bill Gates and everybody else is buying, you going to be working on them. The Most High God is coming for his people. Everybody that's left is fucked. This is Rap the News.